Good late Thursday, early Friday. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, giving a look at those current temperatures across the region. Hope you had a Merry Christmas there, Happy Holidays so far. As we look ahead toward the new year, you can see right now 48 toward the Keystone area, 51 toward Jacksonville Airport. As I know some of that cold air is coming back in toward the picture, 44 in Albany there in toward Dougherty County. So we're just going to be kind of keeping our eyes here on the overall pattern as the days go along. As we get into Word 2024, we'll see all the details on that here in just a few moments. I know that to be kind of interesting to look at here as we kind of look ahead there. Kind of seeing some of those different trends, some rain here at points coming in the forecast, and maybe even toward later on in New Year's Day. Not for those New Year's Eve plans, though it doesn't look like. So that's some good news. But I know as we even get later in the next week here, I know we're not going to have a full update on Tuesday here. We're going to have one late Thursday, but we might have to come on before that, of course, if something pops up in terms of stronger storms, maybe earlier on Thursday. It's a possibility, but too early to know any specific details on that. But we'll keep you guys updated on all the different platforms, of course. As you can see, some shower activity in toward the coastal waters, but not too big of a deal overall. A little warmer toward Orlando there. I know some of you have a New Year's Day plans maybe headed down there. Of course, their forecast generally a little bit warmer here than what we'll have, but it's not going to be a huge difference here as we're looking at things overall. I know we had that rainy pattern here going back some down there as we were looking yesterday, and I guess even going back toward Wednesday at this point in terms of those actual those days there on the calendar. And then going there toward Christmas, we had some shower activity toward the historic region. Wasn't too significant there. Didn't interfere too much with those plans, but it's kind of a little bit of a cloudier period there, even more so than what we've seen in terms of the overall timeline. But again, I know we're going to have to watch out for some fog concerns later on. We have some river flood warnings still. Of course, our logo is garnet and gold. The Noles there, FSU football team in the Orange Bowl. Unfortunately, not selected by the college football playoff committee despite having a perfect unconquered season and having a better strength of record there than teams that were selected there in front of them. So just a crazy situation there. We'll get into more details on that here in just a moment. But let's go ahead and kind of review the biggest weather story of the year across our region, of course, was Hurricane Idalia. And you'll be able to see that toward the Horseshoe Beach area and Dixie County. This was looking like there a few weeks after it came through all that storm surge there, coming up many feet in toward that area. Could have been even higher. I mean, it could have knocked Roy everything down, but it Roy did do a lot of damage out there. It took a heavy toll on that area there and caused some big time problems, as evidenced by this photo there as you're looking at that truck there. As we go ahead and say it toward Dallin Park there in Suwannee County 1 week after that wind damage was still very clearly seen. As you can see, all the different lines down, crews still working out there, just trees down everywhere. I mean, it looks like a tornado came through. Roy, tornado-like winds came through that area with an extreme wind warning that was in effect there during that event. I mean, getting a hurricane to come through that part of our region, so significant here, something we hadn't really seen. As we were looking there, Roy, as you look back, I mean, just the impact there so terrible, but I mean, could have even been worse if it was a little bit stronger there. I mean, but it was already a major hurricane when it hit as we were looking at things there in the real time, and just a terrible impact for folks. As we see now, let's transition over to that rainfall forecast here next 7 days. This may be underdoing it a little bit, especially I know right at the end of the 7 days here is when we're going to start having more rain come in. But this is the official forecast from Weather Prediction Center. You see the word Tallahassee, 1/4 to 1/2 inch. A little bit south of there, Wakulla County, maybe closer to 3/4 of an inch on average towards Stark. Right now, it's only looking like about a 1/10 of an inch there, maybe even just 100th of an inch there on average. But we'll watch it. We'll keep you guys up to date. If we need to come on with anything in terms of severe weather, we will. Right now, not expecting anything. Maybe it'll about day 7 type period there in the timeline. But you can go to cloudweather.com/radar for an interactive look at things when we're not on the air here. So again, we'll just continue to watch things here in terms of everything that's happening. I know We'll keep you guys covered if and as necessary. You see towards South Florida, that Orange Bowl is being played. Not too much precipitation, if any at all here. I do have a small chance on Saturday, but overall not amounting to too much. It doesn't look like here. And then the Gator Bowl being played in less than 12 hours now. Clemson, they had a really good year. I know not to their standard, obviously, not to their standard by any stretch of the imagination, but still, I mean, they were really starting out slow, and then they came on strong later on in the year, but didn't get a lot of credit for it. I mean, nobody in the ACC, it seemed like, got credit, but Cade Klubnik there, I mean, they beat South Carolina. They were winning some big-time games there, here and there. I mean, as we're looking at things, I mean, again, not there's standard, don't get me wrong. I mean, your Clemson fans are probably saying it wasn't that good of a year, but they started out really slow. I mean, they lost to Duke early on there, the first game, and then they had trouble there losing, of course, to FSU. That was our closest game. The Seminoles, my alma mater there. But then, I mean, after they lost to NC State, they beat Notre Dame. They beat North Carolina. They beat Georgia Tech there. I mean, some of those games weren't that close. So, again, that's kind of a big storyline there in terms of, I mean, you kind of undervalue them, and that kind of really trickle-down effect was that you're undervaluing FSU as well. So let's just go ahead and keep looking here. I know for that forecast, though, for that game, it looks like it's going to be kind of cool. I mean, 50s there with a breeze there, maybe quite windy here at points there toward Jacksonville. So we might have to bundle up a little bit for that contest as Kentucky's coming into town there as well, and toward the stadium there in Jacksonville to take on Clemson there. Now, they won the ACC championship last year in 2022. FSU winning it this year with an unconquered season so far. Let's go ahead and see our covered area. Of course, we'll be on top of things as needed, but no formal update Tuesday. But if we need to come on before our formal update late Thursday, we will here as we're looking at things. We're from Bradford County. That's where we're based at. Of course, really know these counties pretty well, I think, because I've been covering them for the last 4 years, coming on for every tornado warning storm to the 62 counties here. And, of course, went to school, graduated from FSU there in Tallahassee. I know that's one reason we're focusing on them a lot. So I just kind of have to defend my school here a little bit when we have a situation like what's happened here going back earlier in the month with the playoff snub there by the College Football Playoff Committee. But again, we're looking at things. We also, of course, cover here different parts of our region there, like Duval County. And of course, we touched on this a lot here earlier on in the year, but it's worth mentioning again, especially because of the schedule here. We'll talk about it in a moment in terms of George Winterland. But first off, that dense fog advisory not in play formally yet. But we just need to be watching out here for some of those hazardous driving conditions. Some special weather statements have come into play here toward Marion and Putnam, Flagler, St. Johns counties, that part of the region. So just make sure you're slowing down and giving yourself extra time to reach your destination. Make sure your vehicle is as visible as possible to other vehicles by using your low beam headlights, and leave plenty of room between you and the vehicle in front of you here. Again, I know last New Year's we had a tragedy there at Ward roadways out toward, I believe it's Lake City area and I-75. We'll just always have to be on guard for stuff like that. Maybe not the exact kind of pattern to set that up, but it's kind of always not something you can forecast with too far in advance as fog. So got to always be really careful in these type of situations here. And when you have that dense fog around, just have to be really careful. You want to take as many precautions as possible here. We don't want tragedies to happen, obviously, and just have to really kind of pay attention here when you're dealing with stuff like this. So again, just make sure you slow down and give yourself extra time to reach your destination there as you're maybe headed there out toward different places as we look toward the new year in 2024. But tonight, here we're already seeing that potential. Marion, Putnam, Flagler, St. Johns County, that part of the viewing circle. Now let's go ahead and look, though. I wanted to mention this again here. We were talking about it quite a bit there earlier on toward the middle of the year when legendary WJXT Channel 4 chief meteorologist George Winterland, who was on TV in the Jacksonville area for about 50 years, already passed away. at the age of 91. And WGXC Channel 4, the station he used to work on there, and really was such a big icon here locally. They're covering events like Hurricane Dorian '64, and of course he was there in '89 when they had the White Christmas there, and so many other events here and there. I mean, working with the heat index there, that was something that he really helped to pioneer his involvement in that. And there's gonna be a special there uh, on Channel 4 that was shown earlier on in the summer. It's gonna be replayed on New Year's Day at 9 a.m. I know the video of that is online there. But it's going to be replayed again if you want to watch that there or record it. It's going to be shown 9 a.m. on New Year's Day on WJXC Channel 4 in the Jacksonville television market. I know this is me when I met him there in the 3rd grade. Such a great person. I mean, the best meteorologist ever in the history of this television market. One of the best in the history of the country, really. And he was in so many homes for so many years. And just true legend. He was an FSU graduate there, the meteorology program there back at Florida State University. I know he was a really proud Seminole there as well. As again, you can see here though, again, that special New Year's Day at 9 a.m. Just so many stories about him there, and just everything he did. So many contributions here to the meteorology community, the local community, and really a really special person there. As we go ahead and show you our planning forecast here over the next 7 days here in North Florida and South Georgia. You can see 56, that's pretty cool here. Florida high today as we're looking ahead. 58 on that Saturday. 62 there on Sunday. As you can see, it's warming up a little bit, but still pretty chilly. I mean, gonna have to watch out. Now, Saturday morning, if there's enough wind around, we don't really get the frost, maybe, or in some areas, of course, if you're under 32, though, you're gonna have that freeze. And Sunday morning is looking like we could have a pattern here where more of us have those freezing type conditions. So be aware of that here. Make sure you're protecting those plants here. May get some freeze warnings. Some of our area to the north, to the west, they don't get them really when it's just a base type of freeze now because they already had some cooler conditions here going back earlier on in toward the last few weeks or so and the like. But again, you can see here below average for the high today, Saturday, Sunday there. Monday warms up some, but we have some rain starting to come back and a little bit higher rain chances. So it's something to keep in mind there. And you can see as we look toward Tuesday there, as we're looking there, just kind of giving you guys an idea there. As things do progress, you can see a little bit cooler for the high on Tuesday there. Wednesday morning, upper 30s again, but then Thursday, we have a chance of some showers coming back into the picture. Maybe some storms. It might be a little cool. We'll see here, but some of the models were at least on some type of severe parameters, but it's way early. Since we're not having an update Tuesday, I wanted to at least kind of mention there's a possibility of something there. That could be a little bit on the stronger side, but it's nothing to stress out about here at this point. But we'll keep you guys up to date here, of course, as we're looking at things. I know, again, those averages here, it's kind of always interesting to compare them. I mean, below average here as we're going in the new year and really not really getting above average too much. I mean, that Thursday morning will be warmer because of cloud cover, maybe some rain around, maybe some storm acts, and we'll see. Just depending on how things set up, that low might be a little bit too low if we get a lot of that around. Didn't want to go too low in case it doesn't time out quite right there, but if it timed out right, it might actually be a little bit warmer than that Thursday morning, but that's far along in the period here. Again, New Year's Eve night, the weather looks pretty good. I mean, cool, but not really seeing the shower accent arrive at that point. It doesn't look like. So that's the good news. Not necessarily freezing then either. You see 40 for the low Monday morning. That's the lowest it'll be there as we look at that period. So not terribly cool there. I mean, or terribly cold. I mean, but it will be a little bit chilly there as you're looking at things, as you're looking at the overall situation here. In toward the weather center. I know again the Gator Bowl will be kind of cool. I mean, it's all relative. I mean, Sunday night will be cooler than will be during the game Friday there as Clemson and Kentucky play. But again, for a game when you're out there for hour after hour with a breeze, I mean, maybe you're not expecting that as much here in sunny Florida. But as you're looking there Sunday night, of course, I mean, again, it's all relative here as you're looking. It's just kind of interesting to see that there. as the overall situation does progress. I know, again, you can kind of see here just everything that's going into this here with the different numbers and the like here. Again, I mean, just seeing here the overall pattern in store for us there. I'm about to talk more about FSU football here, so I want to make sure we spend plenty of time on this graphic real quick before we kind of transition over toward that here. But again, let's see if there's any questions or comments here. Good evening there, John. Thanks so much for watching, John, watching from Jacksonville here in our YouTube comments. And again, thanks so much for everybody tuning in here tonight as we're looking there. Again, I mean, these temperatures here are not too bad. At least it's not just extremely cold here. I mean, sometimes you can get a El Nino pattern at times, or have wintry precipitation, things like that. Could have some of that in North Georgia here, some snow, shower actions, some flurries at least, as we look ahead here. So that's something to kind of take note of. In fact, let's go ahead and just kind of see you real quick as we look further on up into toward the country here at some things. I know. Let's go ahead there and jump on over toward a look here at some of the other information there, and that would be the radar with some of those snow showers there toward Missouri and Illinois, and you can see areas there like around Columbia, Missouri, getting some of that also down towards Springfield, Branson, that area. And that's kind of interesting. Some of that will be transitioning further down toward the south here and east, but it's not going to necessarily hold together anywhere close to our area we're not expecting, but North Georgia, North Alabama could have some of this here holding together. So that's kind of interesting, getting that there and toward some of those different communities here as we look at things. But again, you can see here just kind of checking all these different numbers as we go into 2024 there on that New Year's Day. I know, I mean, you're looking there and you see that rain chance starting to creep up again later in the day. You can see some rain chances for Thursday as well, but we'll just continue to look at things. Of course, we're not going to have a formal update on Tuesday, but now let's go ahead and look ahead here and talk about some different things involving Florida State football here, of course. I just wanted to go over this again since that game is on Saturday there for FSU, that Orange Bowl, as the Noles there take on Georgia. This is what I had for my college football playoff top 7. Now, I went more off of most deserving here, even though the criteria after about a decade or so apparently it was clarified about a week before the selection process. I mean, you have a situation here where things are kind of talked about for year after year, and it doesn't come up, and then all of a sudden we talk about how things are based off the best teams instead of the most deserving, instead of the resumes, just pretty much using the eye test to see who they think might be better. But this is what I thought it should have been, based on more off of most deserving, based off of resume. Michigan 1, Washington 2, Florida State 3, Texas 4, Alabama 5, Georgia 6, and Ohio State 7. And we've talked a lot about this now. I hadn't showed the next graphic here is what I consider, because I've watched a lot of college football this year, honestly, just based on time constraints. I gotta believe I probably watched more college football than some of the committee members, to be quite honest. I'm not trying to be negative too much in that regard. It's just probably how things go, because they have big jobs, athletic director jobs and the like. So they're not watching every team and every game, every play. But this is what I actually thought the best teams were. So a lot of people said FSU wasn't one of the best 4 teams. Well, before the team was taken apart by the playoff committee, because a lot of them left there, transferred out, / opted out for the NFL draft. This is what I thought things were. Even though Georgia lost to Alabama, that's a fact there. More of how it always goes between Saban and Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart used to work for Nick Saban in Alabama, and they know each other. They know the style of play. So those games generally with a similar talent level are going to be close, and they're just going to go back and forth. I mean, year after year. I mean, they played in the SEC title game 2 years ago, and Alabama won, but they got to play for the championship, and then Georgia won that, the national title. So this is just kind of how it looked there in terms of what I deemed the best teams as. Even though Georgia lost to Alabama, Georgia actually still the better team based off of just the eye test and resume overall, it seemed. not factoring in a direct head-to-head, but then Texas did beat Alabama there. Again, another former assistant of Saban there. And you can see, for what it's worth, I have Michigan and Washington, and even though they have not lost, I mean, you got to put them in. It's like you had to put FSU in, but they didn't. They tried to make it about the injury to Jordan Travis, but Roy thought Tate Rodemaker could have got the job done. He's now entered the transfer portal, though, because of the overall situation this term and all that, saying they didn't really think he could get the job done. But you can see here, looking at things, you can see Michigan. I think they're kind of, I mean, they have a 13-0 record. They deserve to be in, as we so do, but really don't think they're one of the 4 best in Washington. They've gotten lucky multiple times. I mean, again, that's kind of how FSU was in 2014 to some degree, and they deserve to be in. But really, I don't think they're one of the 4 best. But I mean, it's a really opinionated type of thing here. And but the committee decided something different. I mean, based off of this, for what it's worth, you can kind of deem here, even without really, I mean, the opt-outs and the portal here and the situation there. I mean, with FSU, how they ended the season, if they were in the playoff against Georgia, I would have them barely losing. Same to Texas, but I'd have had us beaten. I'm a Comas, it's my alma mater. I'd have had them beaten there. Alabama there, Michigan, Ohio State, and Washington. And that means if FSU would have played maybe Michigan that first round game, I would have had FSU advancing. Same with Washington. And then if maybe Texas lost to Michigan or Washington, I'd have had FSU winning the title. That's why it's such a big deal. They didn't like the last 2 years where Georgia was a really dominant team. There was no real dominant, even though a lot of teams didn't have losses or looked pretty good. There was no dominant team, it didn't seem like. So based off of this, if Alabama does beat Michigan, which is a suggestion here, based off of how I watch things, it's kind of set up there for Nick Saban, even though it's Roy, the team didn't deserve to be in. It's set up here for Saban to win a national title because generally teams don't win rematches in the season. So if it's Texas versus Alabama here, like this would suggest, Alabama would technically win the college football playoff invitational. But let's just go ahead and it would be technically considered a national championship for them. But again, this is just something I wanted to kind of make a point about. In the future, I mean, things have got to be clarified. We're in the 10th year of things. You can't be doing it like that. I mean, you can't have a question a week before the playoffs about what the main criteria for selecting teams is, best or most deserving here. I mean, this is what I think is the best. They said no. I mean, this is what they said here at the committee, that these were the best. They decided not make it about most deserving. I mean, we had teams in the past like TCU last year, which won a game. We had Michigan State one year that was really probably just more about most deserving instead of best. And they got blown out there, but it's not about the blowouts this year. We didn't have a dominant team, so anybody had a chance to win the national title. But despite an unconquered season, FSU left out. Thinking about 2004 Auburn there, they had a perfect year and they were left out in favor of USC and Oklahoma because there's only a 2-team setup. But this was set up to have all the unbeatens there in. I mean, out of the power conferences, I mean, you could have even thrown Liberty in there. They probably didn't really have a case at all. But just going back here, 1979, FSU there was in the Orange Bowl. Bobby Bowden, what a great year that year. But they were unbeaten, but they lost in the Orange Bowl. But the last time we've had a situation like this, I would think, here, just off the top of my head, involving FSU there, going through some of the history, but just a crazy situation overall. This is what they decided in the future. The playoff committee really needs to have things set up here where they're either using the BCS formula, outside of the auto bids to actually see the team, so there's more transparency in the process, or just televise/stream all the playoff committee meetings there involving the actual playoff teams. Make sure those are streamed/televised so everybody knows exactly what's going on. But let's go ahead and see here. I mean, it's the Orange Bowl consolation game. The forecast for that The Unconquered champion there, FSU, number 3 in the coaches poll, number 4 in the AP. We used the coaches poll for this. 13-0, playing Georgia, 12-1. It's going to be a 4 o'clock Saturday kickoff. It's available on local radio here, of course, Florida and Georgia, and also it's available on cable, pay television there as well. Some streaming services there. You can watch it there on that ESPN and ESPN Plus is what we're talking about there in terms of some of those platforms. But Miami Gardens, Florida, mid-60s, so kind of cool down there for this contest. A 5% chance of rain. Probably not going to have rain around. Partly cloudy. A little bit breezy here, maybe. A little bit breezy. Not too windy per se, but that's cool for South Florida. Again, as I mentioned, it's kind of a consolation game. It's a situation, I know, years ago, if things wouldn't have just been so full of heartbreak involving the football team being left out of the college football playoff here, then maybe could have been more about going for AP number 1. But it's just the discussion really hadn't gone in that direction here. And unfortunately, Florida State's come out a number of players that they had during the season. So maybe for FSU's sake and for everybody's sake, that somehow this game would look like a representation of the season, but more than likely it's not going to really represent what happened because the quarterbacks, the top 2 quarterbacks, and the one that would have played in the playoff, Tate Rodemaker, no longer with the team because decided to transfer because after all the heartbreak, the coaching staff at FSU decided to go after some transfer quarterbacks to come in instead. But just a terrible situation overall. And as you look here, you can see, again, the weather conditions here. A mid-60s, 5% chance of rain. Just so much heartbreak here involving football. Things can be a lot worse involving heartbreak for sure. But just the team just didn't get a fair shake here. It didn't seem like. And I think we need to talk about that here a little bit more. We don't try to talk too much about sports on here, but there's something that really needs to be. It's going to be something that is talked about, to some degree. As we talked about 2004 Auburn, 10, 20, 30 years down the line, it's going to be talked about. It could end up having, obviously a very negative impact on this season, but, could it be a negative or a positive one in years to come will be the question. We'll just have to wait and see how things develop. It could really maybe galvanize things, and FSU really is at the top of college football for years to come. Honestly, everybody could just really be in a spot here where they're just, it's hard to take stuff seriously anymore because you can go undefeated and be left out of next year's going to be a 12-team playoff. But, a 1-2 loss team could get left out, then it wouldn't be the same. But if they wanted the committee, if things aren't a little more transparent, they could put a 4-loss, a 3-loss SEC team in ahead of a 1 or 2-loss ACC team possibly. So you never know. So we'll just wait and see. They wouldn't be conference champions in that overall realm here, at least off of what's set up supposed to be the playoff format there in 2024. So again, it's something here that we'll have to continue to watch. You can see that weather forecast there again, a little bit chilly. So whoever gets the Gatorade or Powerade bath here, it's gonna be definitely a little bit cool. But again, and we'll be getting toward and past that sunset point there when this wraps on up. So again, just something to kind of mention there as we're looking at this again. This contest there, FSU Mike Norvell there against Kirby Smart. They're the 2-time defending champs here, and it's a situation though where a lot of players have opted out. It's not going to be the same as it was during the regular season. Both teams, to some degree, will be able to sell their former self, it would appear here as of now. So you can't use this game directly, maybe indirectly, but not directly to justify whether FSU should have been in the playoff one way or the other. Based on the evidence here. I'm an FSU grad, but it seems like it was pretty clear FSU should have been in. Let's just go ahead and say here some more, though, in terms of that snow up toward the north. Getting some of those snow shower to Missouri, Illinois, southern Indiana, it looks like there right now. It looks like close toward Evansville, getting some of that. So always kind of interesting to see there as we look at things up that way and toward that direction. Just kind of giving you guys an idea there, and if you missed it here, let's see that forecast one last time before I wrap it up. I hope you have a happy new year. Happy start to 2024 here in terms of just whatever you have planned there on that New Year's Day as we look here, as we kind of look at things, giving you guys an idea here of what to anticipate in terms of those weather conditions. I mean, pretty cool. I mean, when you're thinking about these temperatures, you think it's a little cool, but I mean, it's different, at least the contrast from what we'll have here in the summer when we have 80s, 90s on the board. So that's at least something to think about here as well. Happy New Year. Happy start to 2024. I know. Just hoping you guys have a great start out there. We hope you have a great night as well. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for trusting me here. Go FSU. Go Noles here. I know it's going to be tough. It's consolation game there, really, against Georgia. But then just root them on the best we can here. And I know for our Georgia viewers, I know you won a title in the last 2 years. I mean, based off of what I showed, they were one of the best teams as well. You guys had an argument as well there to be in the playoff, but things, it's a tricky situation. And as we just kind of seen here, a very complex scenario here. And things can be very complex here in college football, sometimes in meteorology as well. Looks kind of calm here overall, as you're seeing, though, here locally. Again, some rain Monday, Thursday here, the highest chances, though. Keep you guys updated on all of that here as we look. And, of course, we're always on all the different platforms here. Of course, we had all that winter new weather there up toward areas like Nebraska there, South Dakota, and the like as we got back earlier on in the week. Not seeing that right now, but it's definitely chilly, very cold up there compared to what we see around here across our region. Of course, we're always on Facebook, KC Cloud WX Cloud Weather, Twitter/X at Cloud KC, YouTube at Cloud Weather, Twitch Cloud Weather, cloudweather.com. So all the different platforms I have you covered. Just showing you the current temperatures again. There is that fog around, as you'll be able to see on some of our METAR sites, like in Palatka there. Ocala, even just south of the viewing area, outside of the viewing area around DeLand. Be very careful. I know Palatka visibility is a fourth of a mile right now, fourth of a mile around Ocala. So be very careful on the roads out there as we wish you a happy new year.